Barry, thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure.
You've been out of the public eye or the safety professional eye for the last 9 months or so. What is it that you've been working on over that time?
We've had a very interesting time. I've been on a panel, a 3-person panel, doing a review of laws on OHS, what they are at present and what they ought to look like to be applied uniformly nationally. What should a model act look like that everyone can apply and use? And it's been really quite interesting absorbing the knowledge and the information of all of the people out there in the workplace who understand what it's all about, as well as reviewing things like academic literature, talking to regulators, talking to people and so forth. And I have to say also, continuing to run a busy practice, which also provides very much the day-to-day real-life examples. So it's been a fascinating time.
How do you think that a model OHS Act will change the way that OHS is managed in Australia?
Well, hopefully very much for the better, which is why the process has been undertaken. Certainly those that operate across state boundaries will be able to more efficiently and therefore more effectively manage safety, because the rules won't be different. They'll be able to have the same processes in each state, the same rules will apply. But similarly, from a regulator's perspective, they'll be able to better share resources, better share information, develop guidance jointly and so forth, so that they will be able to do far more for the same amount of resources. So that can only better health and safety in the workplace by having more information and better use of resources.
Some in the safety profession see occupational health and safety as being dominated by lawyers. Who do you think is the most important person for managing workplace safety?
That's an interesting question, and in fact it's a quiz question I use in training quite a lot, and the answer simply is everyone, because everyone contributes something to safety, whether it be at management level, whether it be at shop floor level, whether it be contributing plant substances, advice or whatever. Everyone contributes. Everyone has to understand their role, the influence they might have, how they can contribute positively or negatively, and do what needs to be done. So the answer really is one word: everyone.
What have you learnt professionally or personally through being part of the National OHS Law Review Panel?
It's not so much a question of what I've learnt as what's been brought into sharper focus. The need for the whole system, the whole of the legislation to be considered. It's all interdependent. Every element supports another element of it, and to pick on a particular aspect might not be the best way to go, because you can't see how it affects other parts or is affected by them. It is a whole. All of the pieces work well together, and having to design a model act and what it should look like to work brings that very much into sharp focus. The other thing which has also been brought into sharp focus is the incredible commitment to safety. Everyone who's made public submissions has been clearly, very ardently pursuing safety and safety improvement, and that's a great thing to work off.
OHS legislation is one of the few pieces of law that's been written to be applied and understood by the layperson. Do you see that as a strength or a weakness?
I think it's an absolute strength. It's one of those areas where it's not about stopping people doing the wrong thing. It's really about making sure that people understand what safety outcomes they really have to achieve and how to go about doing it. It supports good practice and common sense, but it provides the detail for people to understand that and understand what they need to do. So being written for the layperson is essential. They're the ones that have to do it. If you're talking about the lawyers and prosecutions and so forth, that's after it's failed. You do need that because you do need to enforce legislation and enforce good practice. But the primary focus of the Act should be on making it work.
What's your response to those who say that OHS law is really unnecessary and that safety can be managed quite well by employers?
There are a number of very good businesses out there who do exceptionally well and lead safety. Not everybody is in the position though to be able to commit the sort of research, knowledge and resources to doing safety well. Not everybody understands what safety is about. Most of business in Australia is small to medium enterprise. They just don't have that. They need the assistance and the benefit of the law guiding them and the assistance and guidance of the regulators. And so the law can never assume best performance, just as it should never assume worst performance. And the law has to be directed at everyone.
Barry, what was your first job and was it a safe job?
Well, as a child, of course, delivered the local newspaper, which obviously riding a bicycle has its hazards. A stint collecting milk money, yes, I'm that old. And I dread to think now the security issues of a kid my age carrying that amount of money in a satchel on my hip. But the first job, you might say, during university was working in factories. And I have to say that I remember now what that was like, and I'm glad we've moved forward.
You're a keynote speaker at the Safety in Action conference at the end of March and early April, and you're also, I think, presenting a paper as well. So
on corporate governance.
On corporate governance.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very interesting conference, and I look forward to hearing what you're going to have to say.
I look forward to talking.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Kevin. Great.